Welcome to another edition of our program as we continue to examine the APNU+AFC government's 1 year in office. Joining us today is the Honorable Sidney Allicock, Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs. He will tell us about some of the challenges and successes as he endeavored to provide critical services to the indigenous peoples. Minister, coming into office, what are some of your goals and aspirations?
Well, to be very honest, my first plan was to get the people together, the various players in the development of the indigenous peoples and the country as a whole. So it's like a game, I think. It's like the game of football. If you have a good team, you score the goals. And that was the driving force behind my imagination of how we could overcome the many issues that the indigenous peoples face in Guyana today.
Okay, you mentioned bringing the people together and so on to develop the lives of those indigenous peoples. How many of those goals you would have been able to achieve for over the past 1 year?
Okay, I would like to just go back a little to saying that you would have probably known or seen that the country, when we came in, or even before, it was divided, in which is their democratic right. But when you're divided to the extent that you're divided just to keep one another down, it doesn't make sense to be living in such a beautiful country like Guyana. We have so much potential. We need to venture out. We need to stop talking about the potentials and get it done. So the communities, as I came to meet them and I've experienced this, were divided politically. And while we have had the 50 years of political independence, we should have already been able to have economic independence in communities. So we would not have been in a state of wanting and not knowing what to do, but to use the imagination and the creativity that the indigenous peoples have. So the coming together of the people was the first move. And that was to have, we had every 3 years you have village elections. And that this year, because of the situation in Guyana at that time, the prorogation of government, we had to, it was a challenge, a big challenge, and delays happened. However, we pulled it off. We were able to have a few villages, actually 18, 20 villages being audited. We still have to continue to do that, but it costs money and understanding, patience. We also have been able to continue with the Amerindian land titling, and that this is the big area of indigenous comfort. Land, they'll tell you, land first before talking anything about development. And while you have some villages are more critical in terms of degradation, in terms of conflict, and while some are up and going, some are ready for the next level. So in trying to find the balance, we try as much as possible to get the feedback through the National Two Shops Council, through villages, through other indigenous groups, to give us an idea of what it is that we should be doing. So we take all of this into consideration, and there are numerous issues that needs real experienced experts to give us those advice, and we are having them. It's just that it is taking more than is expected. Of course, we have 212 communities and villages to deal with, and over 70,000 people to be able to meet with. And if you have, we are going through FPIC, which takes time. It's not an easy overnight story, and while we would like to move faster, we have to respect and recognize those needs, those rules. So, along with that, we've been able to have, for the first time at the National Tushaus Council, bringing in all the players, all the Tushaus. We invited the indigenous NGOs and other people with interest, and in that way we've been able to be given a number of directions and advice, some of them was good for moving on with, some were not so good, but all of this makes my job, even more interesting. It's an interesting challenge, and the more you know, I think for a lot of administrators and a lot of people, we do not know what a beautiful country we have as Guyana. As you know, 90% of the population is on the coast, and just the other 10% would be in the interior. And the interior, or the hinterland, is where the riches are. You have all the natural resources, a rich culture, a rich environment, and we need to keep that intact, and that is what we are working towards, being able to have a body that will allow the land settlements to be completed once and for all. And I say this because during the September Heritage Celebration here at the NTC meeting, the President Arthur Granger, laid down a 10-point plan which the National Tushaus Council endorsed. So in it is, among other things, the hinterland and indigenous peoples land commission. And I added, after the discussions and meeting with a number of persons, we added land, hinterland and indigenous peoples land and life commission, because land is life, and you have to, it's no use having the land and you can't enjoy a good life. So, and life doesn't mean the life of the indigenous peoples alone. It means life of the other living things that brings the ecosystems together, that has us today, as we speak, breathing fresh air and still have a country such as Guyana intact. So these are areas that we are focusing on that will lead on to other developmental areas such as ecotourism. We've been working with the communities to have ecotourism developed. Agriculture is a must. It has been a way of life for the indigenous peoples. In addition to that, for all this to happen, for us to have better representation, we have the HAYS youth program, Hinterland Employment and Youth Services. And this is already on. We've started this. Minister Garrido is busy in this area. She has a responsibility for youth and women. So we share the work together. And we have seen the interest, and we're expecting, we're very hopeful of this. When you build the capacity of the young people, they would be able to defend, they would be able to produce, they would be able to have economic strength social social balance in their communities. And we have also seen, for this to happen too, we need to have a communication, because we believe that communication is knowledge, and knowledge is power. And if you use the power in the right way, then there would be a powerful nation, powerful community, powerful nation, powerful people. So, with the great support of the Prime Minister, the government, the President, the ministers, we've been able to launch for us, in this first year, a radio station at Lethem just a few days ago. And the next is to get into Mabaruma to be able to do the same, according to the Prime Minister. And why communication is so vital, it is because we would be able to link, and I believe that's the first phase of getting Guyana together, because we're all Guyanese, and the more we could recognize our roots, recognize our identity, then I think this nation would be like a beautiful thing, like a rainbow. And Guyana will truly be a place for all Guyanese and even friends. So those are some of the areas. And for this first year, we've seen so many things that we would have loved to do better, but it all calls for proper budgeting and proper management, and having the proper skilled persons to help us in this. Health has been one of, a real worry, and it would be for the whole country, not only for the indigenous peoples, but as the Minister of Health was saying, he's recognized this, the government has recognized this, so we will be having more doctors in the interior, because we have a lot of doctors who went to the interior and returned, and they need to give back service. We need to upgrade the hospitals so we don't have many patients coming down and being stranded in Georgetown, having that difficulty, like say at the residence or even at the public hospital. We would have more persons taken care of in their various regions, and that I think is a big area of need for upgrading. And when we have that, I think it will begin to ease this strain that we have here on the coast. And it is indeed very, very strenuous, but we're trying. Infrastructure will have to be taken care of. We need a lot of maintenance. We need new facilities, and this is all in the growing population, in the growing development. And I think with the voice of reason, with other players, to look for where we would like to see Guyana in the next 50 years. I think if people could use more of their energies from the negative, turn that into positive, and give sound advice, rather than sitting in the drain and just crying out, this, that, and not getting up to help in the process of moving forward. Because it is for all of us to understand that we cannot just complain continuously. If you complain, you must have a possible solution, an idea of how we could move forward. And that is what I would like to see happening for the future.
There was a 50th anniversary funding provided to various communities to develop projects, income-generating projects. How has that been going?
Well, it has been slow. All these, we have a lot of, I don't want to call it red tapes, but I think every ministry tapped into this Jubilee year for doing something for their community, for their ministry, and for us, for the villages. We have only so much of our officers there, and I think it is because of that, the slowness, the pace, which we would have liked to have happening, did not happen as was planned. However, things have some communities have already been going, and they're looking at doing two things. Some of them they had original plans, and then they came back to ask for a change. They said, well, it is for you to make that decision. The money is there. You will have to decide. As long as it has something for you to remember for this year, that will be a benefit coming to you. And you must always think about how this is going to propel you into economic strength. And we have so many, it has to be based on community effort, because you have communities that has persons with the knowledge. They need to be pulled into the pool to give advice, be a manager, be a special person there, like the specialist, because we have them there, but it's just the opportunity. So we're hoping that this opportunity now will propel into the next level. We've just launched the Rupununi Essence, and I think that has been a success until now. Until last night, people were asking for, this liquid soap, and I think we're running out. But here is where you now could have access to the forest without destroying it, without having to destroy the tree. You could go there every year, and it gives you that opportunity to live off the natural environment. And medicine and food is, I think, top priority. And in life, you look forward for healthy foods. If you're not healthy, you look forward to medicine. So these are all opportunities out there. We could, and I was even talking to the Makushi women. With the knowledge they have, this is a good launching pad for them to get into tropical medicines. So we are linked to the IAST, and we have a very, very good doctor down there, Miss Dr. Narain, and he's also working with us in PK for the drying of, for this is solar, and I think it is something exciting because we could now bring stuff from up there without that extra weight, and then we may be able to compete. We don't want to compete on the coast, but we would like to target special markets, and I think that's the way to go. And we are also working towards developing more tourism in that area, because it's such a beautiful area for persons who wants to have this sort of an experience. So in addition to that, we also have the Bini Hill School for Learning, and that is another level where these young people would be having 2 years of training, and here is where they would be young businessmen in their area. They could be able to develop their mechanic shops, their IT centers, their agricultural experimental area, and I think when we have that, then the dependency syndrome will be moving away, because when you buy something, when you sweat to get what you need, you cherish it, and this is the level we would like these young people to reach, and they should never feel that the hinterland is less than anywhere in this country. We have, and they will learn gradually, and they're already showing signs that we have a role to play in national development. We have a role in the communities to defend the community's cause, call for more support in whichever field they would like to venture out into. And here is where internet access will be made available, because the health worker could be right there, be directed, she or he could connect and be directed what to do. And we also need the health workers, and they're going to be getting a high level of training. And the young people there would also be having like first aid knowledge, first aid training. So everybody is health conscious, everybody could help one another. And I think having a team like that in any community gives the opportunity of a good life.
Minister, two other things. What about the presidential grant and the community development project? I understand a few communities received funding under the community development projects recently.
Yes, actually we have. We've had some communities who never came to uplift their presidential grants. We have communities. The story is they have to come up, submit your project proposal, and then from that you'd be able to, the money would be disbursed. Well, of course, sometimes you do a little bit of adjustment, but not very much, and the money is released. One of the things that has happened is through donor agencies, you need to have a bank account. You need to have TIN. You need to have all these things that is workable in the city or the headquarters of a region. But when you have to go to, say, like Masikaneri, which is almost 3 hours by aircraft from here, and almost 2 weeks by boat, by land to get to Georgetown, it is very, very expensive. And developers or administrators seem to, they might not be knowledgeable, and that could be a big hindrance to our indigenous peoples. Because sometimes when you come to the bank to uplift, the amount of money you spend to come just to uplift that it's already spent. So those are things that donor agencies, we are aware of this, but we need to convince persons of the need for creating better systems of getting the money to our people out there, or else we would be wasting good money. So while the indigenous peoples need education, as we'd say, some people say we take education to the hinterland, but I prefer to say we share education with the hinterland, because the education is there also in the hinterland. So it must be a two-way flow, because our administrators need to be educated, those who are not, who don't understand it geographically out of this beautiful land of ours. So we have to begin to think. We are working towards getting renewable energy, and all the 4 regions, region 1, 7, 8, and 9, there are possibilities there that we are looking at, and we would want to start with those that are already have been proven, say like Mokomoko, and you have Letem, and we have the Rupununi River, we have the Jordan Falls. If we could tap into those water resources, the hydro, then we have it through a grid, and Latem will have that power that is badly needed. Wind, we have a lot of wind there. Solar, bio stuff. If we have those things at this central area, the electricity will be cheaper. Latem could be, I'm just using Latem as an example, could be the hub for these activities. And the communities could develop the products that could come into this area, the raw products coming in to be refined. You add value there, and you have an industry. And now you package all the Brazil nuts, the cashew nuts, the peanuts, and you excite that movement of business within the area. Cattle, we could have our own chickens and all instead of buying continuously from Brazil. So these are the direction that we are taking. Of course, to have all of this happen, we need water security for agriculture and for domestic use. And when we could have that, we would be so much better off. We are also working towards capturing rainwater, and there is a good example in the Manari area by JR Ranch, and those are things that every community should have if it is possible, so that their animals could have water there. You help the natural environment, the animals, the birds, the plants, and you could do your agriculture there. So these are all work in progress. And I am using Latem because, or Region 9, because these are things that are happening there. And we have persons who understands and is working and passionate of having the knowledge or more knowledge of the value of the forest standing. They could actually put a cost to one of these trees of how much carbon is there, and having the price on the world market, they could be able to calculate the value of their natural surrounding. So these are all opportunities, and only, I think it was last night, we're talking about a protected area within the North Rupununi wetlands because of the arapaima and all the other species that go there to spawn and to replenish the natural surroundings. So it is critical. Those are information that needs to be circulated with other Guyanese to understand the value of the ecosystem, to understand the value of the biodiversity, and to understand that Guyana is a special place for all of us. And we need to focus more positively towards the next 50 years or so. For us, the next, I don't know how long we'll be here, but I'm hoping that we could be able to achieve these things in our fourth term.
Okay, Minister, as we wrap up, tell us where we are with the reviewing of the Amerindian Act.
Well, as I said, FPIC plays a great part in this. Only yesterday we had a meeting with the South Rupununi indigenous group, and that was one of the groups that is helping in coming up with if we are going to review what we need to what they call it to not adopt, to amend, yeah, right, to amend, because we believe some of the things could be easily amended to allow us to move the process of land settlements. And we are having a meeting with the National Two Shows Council in July. They are putting things together, and we are encouraging other indigenous groups and other like-minded persons to help to come up with ideas that will make our act a better one. So it is a work in progress. We would have loved to have it, have the process at a more advanced level now, but as things would have it, and if you understand FPIC, it is not an easy thing within the 212 communities to do within this short period of time. So it's a work in progress.
Okay. Minister, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Until next time.
Until next time.
We've come to the end of our program. Thank you for staying with us.